Well, hello there. Welcome back to whatever day this is. This one's going to be a little rough, but we're just going to push through it. So we have a brand new 2022 permobil F3 that has never been used. It was delivered in a way that was unusable by the person it was for. And because of how the whole DME situation works here in the US and insurance and all that, well, it's now 2025 and this thing has never been used. So the plan for today is a couple of things. We're going to put the stock seating back on it mostly. I think pretty much just the armrests, make a few adjustments. And then this particular chair has an interesting problem that plagued F3s from around 2021, 2022. The seat lift does not go all the way back down. And I think I've figured out a way to fix it. I did on my chair. Mine's a 2021 and it had the same issue, but we're gonna try and do that on this one as well. If we look here at the back of it, I think you can see, yeah, this gap right here between the mechanism for the seat and the power base, this gap is a lot larger than it needs to be. I mean, maybe about an inch, inch and a half, but also just looking at the chair from the side, you can kind of see that it's sitting a little bit higher than it should. Now, when I got my chair in 2021, it had the same issue. When I first got it, when it was delivered, or when I picked it up rather, everything was fine. The first time I used the seat lift and went back down, it did not go down all the way. They've since rectified that problem. By the way, this is not a power platform chair. It's just regular Arnett, as you can see here by the joystick. But it was just some weird software glitch. The short version is we're basically going to run an auto calibration on it, then lower the seat as far down as it will go and set a memory position. I'll explain more about that later. But anyways, I've got a tub with some stock parts in it over here. And right now we're just gonna go through and swap out the armrests and make a few adjustments and kind of get it ready to do the auto calibration, because with the headrest and stuff it has on it now, that's not gonna be possible because other parts will collide with other things. Anyways, let's get to work. We're gonna start here by getting these molded armrests off. I believe this is held on with Velcro, yep. So we can just pull this off. A lot of times the Velcro itself is stronger than the adhesive that holds it on. So you have to kind of be careful and make sure you're not peeling that up. Oh, and also one of the plastic trim panels came off, but I just realized that it actually broke off. All of the little pegs that stick out are gone, so I'll have to figure out something to do with that. And this style of custom molded armrest just uses a couple of Allen bolts that hold it on to the substructure here. So let's guess at what size that might be. Maybe this. Hey, there we go. Now these are made out of a plastic material that you heat up and kind of mold into the shape that you want. So it's a fairly thick material, but as you see here, I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up, you can tell that this was heated up a little bit, and then you put it around a bar or something like that to mold it. You can kind of see here the way that looks. That's evident of, you know, heat bending stuff. Then you just drill a couple of holes, rough ones, and run your bolts through. But we have our substructure here for the armrest, and oh, the USB charger is right here. I think though, we should be able to just leave that in place. Let me spin this around. We have an Autobach arm trough on the other side, and those come off a little bit differently. Now, these are an arm trough that you can adjust for different lengths and whatnot. They use sort of a track system to hold them on, and this piece here is actually molded and kind of embedded into that track. So let me turn this off. What we need to do is fold up this armrest, make sure our wires are not interfering with anything. Then on the back, we have a couple of nuts here. As you can see, they're not all the way tight. A lot of times with these custom armrest setups, the DMEs are just kind of using whatever parts they can find and scabbing stuff together that may or may not be designed to go together. Even though these are loose, they're still holding tight. But let's grab our Allen wrench, see if it's the same size. Yeah, it happens to be. And what we're going to do is loosen these. There's some T-nuts inside here. And as soon as we loosen these just a little bit, there's a separate rail or a track right here that you can see. And it's just going to slide right off of that. So we'll loosen these a little. And then our track ends on the front of this, so we'll slide it down. And that comes right off. But you can see here, made in Germany. Carelessness causes fire. Urethane foam. That's interesting. But yeah, here's this thing. There's a little track on the back. That's kind of a new one. Apparently Autobach armrests are a fire hazard. Anyways, here's our T-nuts. So we can just run these off of here. And what I like to do with these is keep all the hardware together. Oh yeah, see, these screws are a little bit too long. But we're just gonna put this T-nut kind of halfway back on here. Then slide it into this rail and tighten those up just so we don't lose the hardware. Yeah, luckily I dropped my Allen wrench on the floor. Pickstick Pro for the win. And I'll just kind of cinch these down on here so we know they're not going to come off. Then these are kind of generic screws, so if we lose those, it doesn't necessarily matter, but I'm just going to kind of stick this back on here as well. Now I'm going to go grab the bin that has all the stock parts in it, and hopefully we can find what we need. Now, a lot of times when you have a chair custom ordered like this with a different backrest and different armrests and all that, the DME should provide you with all of the stock parts. They don't always do that because sometimes they want to like save them for other chairs or whatever, or maybe the person doesn't want them. But this is a stock backrest. I think I'm probably going to wind up leaving, well, I might leave the other one that's on there for now, but we definitely want to swap out the armrests. But yeah, basically the direct backrest adapter that's currently on the chair, it comes off with no tools required, and this would go back on. Oh, sure enough, we have some factory armrests. Oh yeah, here's the other one. Now typically with these, one is going to be shorter than the other, and the short one goes on the joystick side. But you can see here that our rails are missing because those are what we had the other ones mounted to. That actually explains why these are kind of chewed up, because we have to pull this foam off of here to gain access to these screws. Okay, that makes more sense. There's a direct backrest adapter here for a Ride custom back mount. I actually remember this. They didn't use a brand new one. This one says Christine on it. The person that owned this chair was not named Christine, but originally when we took this off, I helped him get this thing set up, but originally when we took this off and we saw that on there, we thought it was hilarious because they were just using random parts. All right, let me get all this cleaned up. We're just gonna get the armrest put back on. All right, lap desk deployed. These things can be a little bit tricky sometimes, but there are these little clips here. I think I might have a shop class video about this actually, but there's these little clips here that you have to release, and then this top piece of vinyl or whatever this is will come out of here. Let me see if we can do this without tools. And as anyone that's had a permobil before knows, these little trim pieces here break very easily, so you don't want to stick anything down in there and try to pry on those. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna need a flat blade to get those out. Please hold. And by flat blade, I mean a small Allen wrench with the tip broken off. So let's get these pushed down. Then we have these little clips here to release those. And our screws are just gonna come falling out. So let's be ready to catch those. Okay. Now, this comes off. This is another part that breaks very easily. You can see we have all these little plastic tabs and stuff here. And if you see here, we have what looks like a little track here, or a space that a rail will fit in. And if you look here, you can see the rail with some screw holes. And this just basically drops right on here. This one's actually for the other side. But then we'll line that up, drop our screws in, and then put our little vinyl cover back on top. But this is the one for the other side, so let me get this one apart real quick. Oh, actually, now that I'm looking at this, I don't think these armrests are going to be compatible with this backrest. That's weird. Why is the longer one on this side? Oh, maybe it will. It doesn't quite touch. Let's see, will this fold up? Yeah, it's just gonna touch the backrest. So actually, I'm gonna get this taken apart real quick. Then we're gonna get the backrest off and worry about the calibration that I was talking about and go from there. Then we'll come back around to the rest of this. Yeah, these all snap together in a way where when you get one loose, it just pops right back in until you get several of them off. Okay, I'm gonna do this off camera, hang on. Ah, that was the trick. You have to remove this vinyl from underneath here. See how it's underneath? So I had to kind of start one edge and then carefully go around like this and pop the vinyl out from this little edge that it's underneath. And just use your finger. So we could probably use a tool if we're careful. Yeah, no, finger's better. Yeah, those are fairly obnoxious to deal with. All right, we're gonna jump around here a little bit and skip to taking this backrest off and playing around with the auto calibration to see if we can get this seat lift working properly so it goes all the way back down. All right, we've got some harness straps on here. These just unclip, so we're gonna get these out of the way. Originally, this chair showed up configured from the DME where it was delivered, and it had one of those ride custom backrests on it where they kind of mold it around your back and then make a backrest. Turns out they've started 3D printing those, and it's interesting because the layer height is like 3 millimeters on their printer, but the problem is they can only do half height backrests, and that did not work for this particular person, and there was no way for them to make them larger. It was like $17,000 or something insane for that backrest. And of course, everyone got all butthurt about it because, oh, we spent all this money, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, it doesn't work. Anyways, we wound up getting this backrest, which is actually the exact same thing that I use on my chair. Actually, can we pull this out of here? But this backrest here is an exact carbon copy of the 2021 F3 that I'm currently sitting in. And we wound up finding a direct backrest adapter on eBay, brand new, for like 65, 68 bucks, something like that. Got that shipped out, found this Stealth ADI backrest, and yeah, I wound up working out. But these direct backrest adapters are cool. If you need to remove the backrest, all you have to do is reach down here. All you have to do is reach down here, and there's a little spring-loaded latch. But you basically just grab a hold of the backrest somewhere solid, flip that latch, pull up on the mechanism, and the entire thing just comes off. No tools required. Here's our adapter, you can see. We have the 4 standard holes that slot into permobil backrests, which actually, let me grab the stock one real quick. Here's the stock backrest, and you can see we've got those same 4 holes. This one actually gets put on, and then there's a thumb screw that goes in right here. That does get stuck sometimes, and you might have to use pliers or something to get that off. But that is one really nice thing, though, with these direct backrest adapters, is you don't need tools to take them off. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this. See these holes right here in the middle of this huge full height backrest? I forgot. They attempted to reuse the old Ride backrest adapter and mount it onto this one. Then they sent it back, and it was only supported right here in the middle. So this being a full height back, the thing was just wobbling all over the place. If we look at this one, there's 4 connection points on the outside edges where it's strong. Like here, here, and 2 more on the other side. So it's well supported on the outsides and all around. And what they tried to do was use that other one and drill some holes in the middle so it was only supported right here, and they thought that would be fine. Anyways, I could go on and on about the problems with DMEs in the United States. Now again, not everyone is going to have a terrible experience with a durable medical equipment provider, but I think there's a majority of people that don't have a good time with them. So if it sounds like I am complaining a lot, I mean, I am, but also I'm confident that many of you share the same frustrations. Now, I've got a whole dedicated video specifically for the automatic actuator calibration. I'm going to link that down below, but what we're doing here isn't necessary for most use cases. This chair just had a lot of custom components on it, and when you try to run the calibration with all this extra stuff on here, other parts of the chair are going to collide with things. So we're going to pop all these off, and now we should be ready for our automatic calibration. Let me walk you through the thought process here and how I figured out this fix. What's happening is these chairs obviously have a network with a bunch of smart actuators, and they are positionally aware. I think what happened in this like 2-year window that these chairs were shipped, there were some other programming issues as well, but I think what happened was the built-in like reference in the modules for how far the actuator travel is, I think that was programmed incorrectly. So what happens is chair gets put together, seat lift is down all the way, everything's fine. Turns out in the background, now I'm just speculating on a lot of this, but it makes sense based on my fix. But turns out in the background, as the seat lift is all the way down after the chair was built, it's actually sitting at a negative invalid value. It's actually 1.5 inches higher is what I figured out, is what it thinks 0 or completely flat is. So the first time you run the seat lift, it goes all the way up just fine, comes back down, stops at that arbitrary 0 point that's incorrect. And from there, nothing you can do will make that actuator go all the way back down. Now the chair has saved in its various modules kind of a rough map of where it thinks the actuators are in space based on their feedback and whatnot. The auto calibration basically nukes that. It goes through and runs almost every actuator. It doesn't always run all of them if it doesn't need to, but it runs them all just enough to figure out where their in stops are, completely resets those values, and then goes from there. What I found was after running the calibration, the seat lift would go down all the way. But then the next time you lifted it back up and went back down, it would not stay that way, and the weird 1.5 inch thing would happen. So what I figured out was, what if we save a memory position when it's completely flat and all the way down? Now that memory position is probably going to be saved outside of the window of what it thinks is valid, but the act of saving that memory position will tell the controller this is a valid position. And after I did that, everything's worked fine ever since. So we're going to do that. And over the years, I've spoken with maybe only 3 or 4 other people that have reached out and had the same issue. And I've had them try this same thing and it's worked. So anyways, I just made this little cheat sheet a long time ago because I always forget which buttons to hold, but I think everything looks good here. Oh no, I forgot. We need to move the leg rest pads here. This headlight also got a little bit bent, and I think as it runs through the process, that leg pad is going to collide with the headlight, so we don't want that. And we'll just adjust these a little bit. So we're just going to loosen these up. Slide the pads in a ways, and then tighten them back down. That should temporarily create all the clearance that we need. Gonna run this seat lift back down. Put the chair as far down as it'll go and kind of in a neutral position where it's not gonna hit the walls or anything. Oh, yeah, that's popping off too. I think as this chair was getting moved around, it, I don't know, got caught on something or someone kicked it or something. But yeah, it's gonna be hard to show on camera, but right now, the space between the seat pan and the power base is too high. It's about 1.5 inches too tall. So hopefully, and kind of the whole point of making this video, ice maker noises, hopefully we can fix that. So again, I've got another dedicated video on how to do this, so I'm just gonna run through this real quick. And let's set it loose. So there it's checking the leg rests. I think it runs the leg rests all the way out typically. Oh yeah, and one thing of note is once these leg rests run up all the way, the angle is such that they're gonna slam down and make some noise. So I'm gonna grab it with my hand to keep it from doing that. You wanna make sure you don't impede any of the actuators though, or, you know, sit in the chair or anything like that. Again, I've got another video about it. Okay, I think we're good. There, ran the lift down all the way. Checking our tilt. I think the backrest is gonna run all the way. Then it doesn't always check the anterior tilt. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on what it discovers as it's running through this process. There goes lift. Should do some anterior. There we go. Don't hit the headlights. Oh, came so close to hitting the headlights, but we're clear. And now it's going to go back to sort of a quasi-neutral position and erupt in the loudest beeps you've ever heard in your life. And I will have to adjust the audio on the video. They're so loud. Alright, now we can power cycle the chair a couple of times. Don't want to touch any of the buttons or anything. Turn this off. Turn it back on. And the ICS is going to write the configuration to the other module. Master error, that's normal. Sometimes this will restart on its own, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll give it about 10-15 seconds. Okay, it is not on this one, so we'll power cycle it again. Then we should have green lights. Okay, there we go. Now, first thing I'm going to do is run the seat, make sure the seat lift is down all the way. Yeah, it's lower. Now we'll run our seat pan completely flat. Double check and make sure our seat lift is down. Do not hit the up button at all, only go down. I'm gonna run the backrest up just a little bit for no reason. And then we're gonna pull the legs in a tiny bit. Okay, and now we're going to save this as a memory position. So I'm trying to remember, I've got my ICS set up in mode 2 or mode B, so I normally do it through here, but I think go into seating, and then looks like we've only got one memory position. So I think, I'm trying to remember, do you hold back? No. Forward? Hang on, I have to look up how to do this through the joystick real quick. Just had to watch my own video on the topic here to get this set up properly. I'm gonna do that real quick. Okay, now pull backwards. And I have a video about this as well. I will also link that down below. Change till that changes color. There we go, now forward. Okay. Power cycle the chair. And now let's see if it worked. Funky camera angle, but I think we should be good now. Let's go back into drive mode. Okay, chair moves fine. Seat lift down. Now we're gonna run it all the way up. If you notice right here, you can just, it's a very scientific way of measuring, but my hand just kind of fits in there. So we're gonna run the seat lift all the way up and all the way back down. And now it should actually go down all the way. Oh man, I'm nervous. Is it gonna do it? Will it do it? Spin the wheel, big money. Oh. Oh? I think it did it. Wait, is there... Oh, our tilt was up just a little bit. Yeah, and there we go. All right, cool. That took care of it. Sweet. All right, now we can continue putting everything back together. But yeah, it's sort of a fringe scenario when this happens with these chairs. I don't know. Like I said, I've only talked to a handful of people over the years, but if that happens to be something you're having a problem with, that's maybe how you can fix it. I don't know. 2023 and on, the bit of RNet before they jumped to Power Platform seemed fine, and now Power Platform does not have that problem. But yeah, kind of a weird one. All right, moving on with our F3 adjustment extravaganza. I'm realizing that for whatever reason, they put the arm bars on the wrong side. I don't know if you can see how far off the front of the chair this joystick is hanging, but the long arm pad is supposed to be on the non-joystick side and vice versa. So we're gonna fix that real quick, which annoyingly involves removing the joystick. So I guess we'll just turn this off and then we can do that. And I'm not really doing this as an instructional video necessarily. Like I said, I'm just trying to get through this because it needs to be done, and I figured it might be interesting for people to look at. So much of the stuff on this chair was done in a non-standard way that I don't think most people are ever going to have to do any of this anyhow. So let's get these pulled off. Honestly, I should be using my Allen drive ratchets for this. Oh, there's that one you can never get to. Oh, sweet, it turned. All right, pull this off and slide this off of here. Carefully set that down. Then we will go over to the other side and take care of that one. Might not get so lucky on this side with our annoying bolt that you can never get to. Maybe. Oh, we got it. Yes. Put our longer one on. Actually, slide this on first. It's our USB charger. Did I say that already? And I'm not really, actually, I guess I could just look at my chair. Oh no, I can't. This chair is weird. I'm looking at the C300 over there. Yeah, it looks like we'll just line these bars up with the back and that should be good enough. Back to this here side. And just so I don't have to unplug all of the wires and cables, so let's see here. Do we want that on the, it's the inside rail. We're sliding this on first. Then we're gonna slide this on. So we have enough slack in our wires to do that. Line that up with the back. Kinda eyeball it for straightness, I suppose. Flip this back down. I'm just looking at my own chair here. Looks like this part of the joystick is roughly in line with here, which, I mean, that seems about right. I'm gonna hold this, flip it back up, tighten these bolts down. They kind of wobble, so I'm just pushing the whole thing to one side. And these will probably need to be adjusted later for wherever this chair ends up. Now, we can grab our armrests and all of their associated screws that are trying to flee. I just kind of set these in here. I'm gonna try and just one-shot this. Yeah, there we go. Looks like our space is good here. By the way, in case you were wondering, Permobil uses weird names for things. So you might think swing away joystick, right? So if you look at the one on my chair, this you would think is a swing away, right? No, this is a retractable joystick mount. What this chair has is what Permobil calls the swing away. It's literally just a bolt with a single pivot and the joystick swings away. So if you order a chair with a swing away, this is what you're gonna get. If you want one that is like this, where it actually moves out of the way, this is a retractable joystick mount. I don't know why they did that with their terminology, but you know, Sweden. All right, I think we want this size. So we'll just get all these screws started. These particular armrests, they only go on here one way. If we look at the back of this, trying to hold the screws, if we look at the back, you can see that there is a channel that is clearly defined on the front and back for the rails. So these always go on the same way. If you want to adjust this, you have to use the screws back here that we used to remove that bar from. Then you can adjust this back and forth and then also independently slide your joystick. Oh, yeah, random information. So we're gonna get these all just so they're down into their little recess cutouts there. Because if we tighten one down, they may not be lined up. So now they're all in place. So we can go around and say click like 4 times or just once. Don't want to go too crazy tight with these. They don't tend to back out, but if you wrench these down with an impact, they're gonna break. Now we have this thing. Ugh. And we'll just kind of put it down in here. It's gonna make a lot of breaking noises. But now you'll probably notice that this edge is sticking out and looks terrible. So what you have to do is kind of push that in by hand. I think you can see that there. Yeah, so you can just run around with your finger all the way and get that stuffed back in there. Again, I don't recommend using tools because this little trim piece likes to break and it's not replaceable. To replace that trim piece, you have to get this entire like plastic subframe that's like glued on there. I think I have another video about trying to fix that maybe. I don't remember. There'll be a lot of links to different videos down below. And there we go. That's all tucked in there. And armrest. Let's do the other side real quick. Oh. Both these bars are long. Hang on. Let me look in the old parts bin. Can't believe I didn't notice that. After much rummaging around, turns out we do not have the shorter track that goes underneath here to hold this shorter armrest. So that means I'll have to deal with this later. I guess I'll have to dig through my own stash of parts. I don't think I have any of those here. Well, we could do the same length armrest on the other side. Actually, let me look at the C300 over here. Yeah, that one's shorter. So apparently we don't have those parts. I do have a couple of parts M300s. I could probably rob one of those off of later, so we're gonna have to skip that part. And honestly, I think I'm just gonna stick the backrest back on it and probably call it a day. I don't think there's really anything else necessarily we need to do here. This thing's heavy. And putting this back on is just as simple as the reverse of, I don't know, whatever, it just goes on here. Hang on, let me get a little closer. We'll just line up these 4 holes. Their straps aren't in the way. And there we go. Backrest is installed. Yeah, those will clear fine with the stock armrests. Check the other side here. Yeah, that looks fine. Actually, I do want to change the angle of these armrests a little bit. This is all loose, so we can do it without tools. Use our turnbuckles back here. There we go. All right, well, now we have this thing kind of put back to stock. I guess those armrests are pretty high. So there we go. It's back to stock-ish, and we were able to solve that that one weird problem that I've encountered on a few of these. I was going to say earlier, but a few of the 21 and 2022 F3s. I do have plans for this chair, so I think I'm just going to leave it kind of functional right now. We're going to put it in the corner, and still working on a few other things. Lots of stuff going on. Sorry, I'm being vague, but yeah. Anyways. We're gonna call that good. Hopefully you enjoyed coming along for that ride and a little bit of insight into the way I figure out some things and some of the strange tricks I've figured out for repairing these. But anyways, I'll catch you guys Thursday on the live stream, and thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed.